Hi everyone! So in this lesson I'm going to show you all the necessary basic tools that you're going to need to start sewing. And now let's get to know them. First of all, obviously we need our sewing machine. It can be either an industrial one or a domestic one. Probably if you're new to sewing, you're gonna have a domestic sewing machine, which is more slowly but much easier to handle, especially if you're a beginner. And it also has lots of options for different kind of stitches, especially if it's a newer one. If you have an industrial sewing machine, it's much faster and stronger and powerful than a domestic one, and you can actually sew more fabrics with an industrial one, and it can also allow you to work with heavy duty fabrics as well. Right now we are gonna check the tools, what we're gonna need besides the sewing machine, what we hopefully already have. First of all, we're gonna need our scissors. I really like these orange ones. These are actually the basic scissors, and I think these ones are easier to get. You might have one of those heavy metal huge tailor scissors, which are actually also really good, especially if you're working with thick heavy duty fabrics. But I personally don't like them because my hands get tired easily, and my hands are not that strong, to be honest. I would recommend you to use these orange ones. Also, it usually comes with the small version of it, the small orange scissors. This one is good for, cutting small things. Easier to cut threads with this one, easy to unpick seams with this one. I prefer unpicking seams with this scissor, although there is a tool which called an unpicker. This is how an unpicker looks. You use this pointy side to unpick all the threads and seams. It's really easy to use it. I'm gonna leave a link for you to buy these ones. It's really cheap, as you can see. So it's a good tool to have if you're just starting out. Depends what you prefer. I prefer this one. So you have the two essential scissors, and you also gonna want to have a third one, third scissor, what you don't mind using on anything else. Because as you might know, dressmakers are allergic to use the good fabric scissors or anything else but fabrics. So am I. So in this case, I'm keeping a third scissor to cut paper, bonings, to cut anything other than fabrics with another scissor, which I don't mind joining because it's not an expensive one. It's just a cheap normal scissor. So you need to keep 3 scissors with you. All have a different function. And make sure these ones you're only using for fabric if you want them to have a long life. For these scissors, you can also find scissor sharpeners online, but you can also take it to specialists who can make it for you. This is what I do, because I actually take them to a friend who sharpen them professionally. But those home scissor sharpeners are just fine. I'm going to put a link in the description. So once we have our scissors sorted out, other basic things are like a ruler, measuring tape. We are going to use these a lot. Measuring tape, I prefer the one which has inches on one side, centimeter on the other side. In your country, you might used to using inches like we are here in the UK, but in Hungary, where I'm from, we are using centimeters. And I actually prefer using centimeters because that gives a more accurate number, in my opinion. Maybe because that's what I'm used to growing up, but yeah, I prefer using one which has both measurements on it. Also, you probably want to get some sellotape. We're gonna use it eventually, especially for pattern making. So just keep them on the side, because the time will come when we are going to use these ones. We also need to have some screwdriver tools, especially when we have a needle that's broken and we need to change it in the machine, or when we need to change the feet. I really like this small one. I actually got this a long time ago from Poundland, like 10 years ago, and it's still going strong, and it has other small bits inside. You need to have different types and sizes of screwdrivers. There are so many fabrics that's gonna keep breaking your needles, and also when you're going to be sewing zips in, or if you have gathering feet, you will have to change the feet as well. And to change feet on industrial machines especially, you are going to need to use a screwdriver. I also like to keep on side a brush. This is to clean the sewing machine, because it's really important that we clean the sewing machine, especially if you're using it a lot. So depends how much you use the sewing machine. Eventually you're gonna want to clean it, because all those fabrics are gonna leave fabric dust behind. And to get rid of that, a brush is gonna be really helpful. I do have a lighter in my tools kit as well. Many times I work with laces and fabrics that has an edge that shreds so much that it helps if I just burn the edge of it. By doing that, I'm gonna close the fabric in and it's not gonna shred anymore. I'm just quickly going to show it to you with the ribbon, because I mostly use this for ribbons. I'm gonna just cut it, and once it's cut, you see it does shred. You can see. And to prevent this happening, what I do is that I use light. And it closes the fabric in. It's not gonna shred. It will stop the fabric from running up. So that's why it's useful to have fire with you. Obviously, we also need to have some spare needles with us, because these little things keep breaking. Especially if you're working with heavy fabrics and you're a beginner, you are not confident with the sewing machine, you're gonna keep breaking these needles. You need different needles for different type of machines. These ones are from my industrial sewing machine. I will be using my industrial sewing machine because that's what I prefer. And for the industrial sewing machine, I will try to show it to you close up. We are going to need needles that are round. You see? It is round needle, and this is what goes into the industrial sewing machine. To the domestic sewing machines, we use needles which has one flat side, so they are not round. So one of its side is flat. I'm going to show them to you close up. You see, it has a flat side. And you need to keep a few of these spare needles with you, because you are going to need these ones. Also, another obviously essential thing is a pin pillow with lots of pins in it. So this one, poor thing, I have been using this for 13 years now. That's why it looks like this. And I'm refusing to get a new one because it grew to my heart. And it's been with me since the very beginning. Although I've been torturing it, as you can see. But you're gonna need to have a pin pillow. You can do this to yourself, or you can order it from online for a few pounds. It's not an expensive one. But yeah, I'm just gonna stick with my old ugly one for now. You can also get these cute finger ring pillows. So you can stick your pins in these ones as well. This one is a bit dangerous. So if you're not experienced enough, then I would not recommend you to do fittings with these ones, because you don't want to hurt your clients, you don't want to hurt yourself or your friends. With these ones you have to be careful. So only if you're 100% sure you can be careful, get these ring ones, although they look so fun. But otherwise just stick with the good old boring ones. So you're gonna need to get pins. There are different kind of pins. You can get pins with beadings at the end. I do like these ones because they are fun and colorful, but I ended up using the simple boring ones because I've got a bunch of it. I got many of these from my grandma, so I actually never had to buy pins. I just had them all the time, all these boring ones. So these are the boring pins, but you're gonna need them. And this is actually a nice pin. There are so many pins that are too thick, well, I find too thick. I'm sure they're good for something, although not for many things. I usually use them just for laces, because in laces these ones are easy to be found. With the small pin head, they can fall out easily. So if you're using net laces, try to get some pins with a pin head on it, with a beading on it, or some safety pins, and use those ones, because these simple ones are gonna fall out, and that's gonna be a nightmare if someone steps in it. Yes. I need sewing needles, and I think you should have these ones already. Like in every household you should have sewing needles. It's a basic thing to have. To be honest, I always pick out one sewing needle that became my favorite one, and I just stick with using that one. But it's good to have a whole package of needles on the side, and needles on the side which has all the different sizes in it, as you might going to need different needles for different projects. For example, for beadings, you're gonna need a beading needle which is really slim, and it can go through even the smallest, tiniest beads. Also have a selection of safety pins. This can be useful at any time. We will use these things for many things, so just get some of them in different sizes. And now that we talked about pins, we're gonna have to talk about thimbles. So these are the things what we dressmakers constantly keep forget using. At least I do. And I always end up having nice holes on my fingers because I hurt myself with the pins and needles. And here's your chance to be smarter than me and get one of these and use them. When you're making your patterns and when you want to mark your patterns on the fabric, we usually go for chalks, like these ones. Well, actually it turned out I'm allergic to these chalks. I always had a sneezing problem when I was working with these ones. I had so much trouble until I found these. So these markers were lifesavers to me. So these are actually proper pens, like pen looking pens, but actually these ones works like a pen, looks like a pen, feels like a pen, but when the heat touches it, it disappears. It's like a miracle. So with these pens, you can get it in black, blue and red. I don't know if you can get it in other colors, but I always get a package, and in the package you can get these 3 colors. These ones are just easily can be removed with an iron. And now we're gonna talk about the iron. So hopefully you already have an iron with you. You can have steam iron, you can have a normal iron like this one, but what I suggest you to do is to get this iron Teflon feet cover. Even if you're using the best iron, you still can't make sure that it's not going to burn your fabric, especially if you're not confident using an iron. So it's always good to have one of these Teflon feet. It's gonna save a lot of trouble for you, because this way it is not going to burn your fabric. If you're using your iron like this, well, disasters can strike. Some fabrics are just so prone to being burned by irons. Get a Teflon feet. Believe me, I burned so many designs because I was just unexperienced with the iron. So get one of these. And for your iron, you might want to get some ironing water. Yeah, I kind of ran out of mine. I need to get some as well. At the beginning, I did the mistake of not spending money on these. And what happened is that I completely destroyed my iron, and it actually exploded. And it almost exploded in my arm. I literally just put the iron down and it exploded. And it turned out it happened because it had a total limescape build-up inside, even after I cleaned it, because I did clean my iron, but because the water is so hard here in England, it completely destroyed my iron and it made it blow up. And ever since that accident, I'm just buying these ones. Next up, I like to have one of these, I don't even know how to call these ones. So it's like padded shaped ironing forms. Many times when we are ironing, things can be ironed on just a simple ironing board. Like this one. Yes, obviously you are going to need an ironing board. You are gonna need an ironing board. I have this one. It has an ironing cover. These stains, what you can see on it, these are just water stains, which actually happened because of the other iron machine when I did not use the proper ironing water. So get the nice ironing water, believe me. Ones are adjustable, removable, you can remove it and wash it. So yeah, hopefully you already have an ironing board. And many times when we are ironing bodies, I'm going to show you one. Like I have this dress here. At some point we are going to learn how to make this dress. So now we have this dress. The dress has a bust part, and this bust part, it's ideal if we can keep the shape of the bust part. When we are ironing bust parts, you can just put it down like this and put the iron over it and flatten it. No, no, no. We don't flatten this part with an iron. No, we can't push it. We are using these stuffed body pillows to feel the spacing here. Feel the space, feel the booby space here. And we can use this to hold the shape of the booby. And we can iron it nicely. So it's really useful to get a few of these ones. And obviously for soon you're gonna need threads. So you're gonna need threads. I really like using the moon threads. They're really good quality. Obviously there are different type of threads, and for different kind of projects you're going to use different kind of threads. but generally these moon cotton fabrics are really good to start with. Also, I like to keep a magnet with me, just a small bar of magnet, because many times when we are working we are going to lose pins, we are going to lose needles, and with a magnet it's very simple and easy to collect them from the floor, from everywhere. It's just good to have it. Next we have the pattern making paper. So I usually go for this dots and cross paper. All of these dots and crosses are 2 centimeters apart. Therefore it can be used as measurements as well. Get a few meters of these ones. We are not going to use it in the next few lessons, but soon we're gonna get there and you will need it. There are different types of this paper as well. If you end up buying one with just dots or one without any crosses and dots, it's completely fine. We can use those ones too. For sewing machines, you might know that there are different type of feet you can use for different kind of projects. For me, the most important one for my industrial sewing machine is this half feet. So this feet, I use this for zips. I'm going to teach you that as well later on in another lesson. Now I'm just showing to you that you should have a feet that is made for zips, inserting, and also the simple feet. And depending from the projects that you're planning to do, have a look on what kind of feet are suggested for that. And probably that's it. That's all what we need to start working. But before we do that, I'm just gonna give you an advice, because you kind of need to learn from my mistakes. So while I was learning sewing on my MVQ course in Hungary, my teacher told me that eventually we are gonna have knee pains, because when we are working with an industrial sewing machine, especially with the industrial sewing machine, the way how we lift up the feet of the sewing machine is that, I'm going to show this to you, is with this thing here. I don't know how we call this one, but when we are using an industrial sewing machine, this is where our knees are, and by pushing this with our knees, you see the feet comes up. The feet of the machine comes up. So that time my teacher told me that we need to pay attention to our knees. We are going to have troubles with our knees, which actually happened to me 2 years ago, and ever since then I've been having constant pain in my knees because of the sewing. And I realized if we are working with this type of sewing machine, it's good to wear these things on our knees. And now I need to wear this not just for sewing, but for working as well. And I'm only 30, and it's annoying, so I don't even know what to expect when I'm gonna be 50, because I already have knee pains because of the industrial sewing machine. So if you're going to be using an industrial sewing machine, I would recommend you to get one of these knee supports and do your sewing wearing these ones. You're gonna have less pain. You're gonna have less pain than me. And one more thing, it should be obvious, but maybe it's not. So when you're sewing, you're obviously gonna have lots of materials, lots of rubbish that you are throwing away. So it's good to have a bin next to your table, under your table, because when you're really into sewing, I tend to just throw materials away, and it's so easy that when I throw it away, my bin is just down there under my sewing machine. And now we're only going to need one thing for sewing that is essential: fabrics. So in my next lesson, we are going to talk about fabrics. I'm going to show you some different types of fabrics. Obviously, I'm not going to show you all of them because there are so many different types of fabrics, but I'm going to show you the basic ones. And after we have talked about our fabrics, we're gonna start sewing. But first we have to clear up all of these information so you can start sewing ready and prepared and confident, and you will be excited to use your sewing machine. So now let's get buying all those tools and see you next time. Bye!